The PS5 is packed with big-name RPGs, and there are also some incredible ones most players don't even know exist. Games with amazing worlds, clever systems, and stories that deserve way more attention. So let's jump in and uncover a few hidden gems you might have missed. Greedfall was one of those games I picked up without expecting much, and it ended up pulling me in fast. The moment I reached that strange island, it felt like playing an old-school RPG again, the kind where every quest has meaning and every choice actually matters. The factions all have their own goals, and I often had to stop and think about who I really wanted to support. Combat was a nice surprise too. Dodging around enemies, firing a musket shot, and then finishing with a sword swing always felt good. And the world itself is deep, full of mystery, tribes, politics, and secrets that kept me exploring way longer than I planned. If you enjoy classic RPG vibes with real decisions and a world that reacts to you, Greedfall is a hidden gem I'm glad I didn't skip.
Political.
The last spell threw me straight into the chaos. During the day, I'm rebuilding my little town, fixing walls, placing defenses, and getting my heroes ready. But the moment night hits, everything goes crazy. Waves of undead rush in, and every turn feels like a fight for survival. The combat is tough and very tactical, so I'm always thinking about my positioning, my mana, and which skills to use. I can shape each hero however I want with different weapons, perks, and stat boosts, and every run feels different because of the random upgrades. It's stressful, but in a good way. If you like strategy games that push you hard, the last spell really delivers. Tokyo Xanadu EX Plus caught me off guard in a good way. I started it thinking it would just be another school life RPG, but once things kicked off and that first portal opened, I was hooked. It does feel familiar at first, like a Persona-style setup, but the more I played, the more the Falcom identity came through. The dungeons were where the fun really started for me. Fast action, quick dodges, and picking the right party for each stage kept things interesting. Since every dungeon limits who you can bring, I found myself experimenting a lot just to hit those high grades. The social parts were surprisingly chill too, with no strict schedule pushing me around. I could take my time, talk to people, and enjoy the little story moments. Tokyo Xanadu EX Plus might not reinvent the wheel, but the combat, pacing, and the mix of school life and dungeon crawling made it a really enjoyable hidden gem that I'm glad I tried. Solasta Crown of the Magister reminded me why I love classic tabletop-style RPGs. When I first jumped in, I felt a bit overwhelmed. Tons of rules, dice rolls, action points, classes, all that D&D stuff. But once I settled in, the game started to click. Building my party from scratch, choosing races and classes, and giving everyone their own personalities felt really close to the real tabletop experience. Combat is where Solasta really shines. Every fight is turn-based and super tactical. Positioning matters, high ground matters, and even pushing enemies off ledges is fair game. It scratches that same itch games like Divinity and Baldur's Gate do, just in a more traditional way. Solasta definitely feels like a love letter to old-school D&D, and if you enjoy that style of slow, strategic RPG, it's a hidden gem worth checking out. I went into Undernauts Labyrinth of Yomi thinking it'd be just another dungeon crawler, but it surprised me fast. The whole vibe of being trapped in this creepy underground maze feels really tense, and even though the story doesn't go very deep, the atmosphere makes up for it. The combat is the best part. It's fast, turn-based, and the switch boost system makes every fight feel strategic. Getting the right gear matters a lot, so every good drop feels rewarding. Exploring the dungeon with those flowers that open paths and bridges is simple but fun, and the enemy designs are honestly some of the coolest I've seen in a crawler. For fans of classic first-person dungeon crawlers with stylish combat, Undernauts is definitely worth a look. Metal Slug Tactics surprised me with how well it turns the series' fast, explosive style into a smart, turn-based strategy game. Controlling the Peregrine Falcons through tight grid-based battles felt tactical without losing that classic Metal Slug energy. I loved lining up chain attacks, using smart positioning, and taking advantage of the adrenaline and synchronization systems to wipe out enemy squads. With 9 characters to choose from, each with their own loadouts and playstyles, every run felt different and pushed me to try new strategies. The pixel art and explosive effects capture the old-school charm perfectly, and T. Lopes' soundtrack adds so much hype to every fight. The roguelite structure keeps missions unpredictable, making each attempt feel fresh and exciting. Cris Tales really stood out to me because of how creative and charming its world is. I loved walking through towns and seeing the past, present, and future on the screen at the same time. It makes every area feel alive. Changing someone's future with a small choice was honestly one of my favorite things about the game. The art style is beautiful too, like a moving storybook with bright colors, fun character designs, and some of the most unique locations I've seen in a JRPG. I also ended up really liking the cast. Everyone has personality, and even the side characters get memorable moments. If you enjoy JRPGs with a unique twist, heartfelt characters, and a world full of charm, Cris Tales is a really refreshing pick. Playing Blue Reflection's Second Light felt like stepping into a soft, dreamy world right away. The Heartscapes are some of the most beautiful areas I've seen in a JRPG. Every place feels emotional and dreamlike, and I kept stopping just to take in the scenery. The characters are warm, charming, and easy to connect with, and spending time with them through requests and little date moments made the story hit even harder. The combat really impressed me too. The gear system, fast pacing, and flashy attacks make every fight exciting, and crafting items to boost my team felt rewarding in that classic Gust way. The music is incredible as well, soft, emotional, and perfect for the game's mood. Blue Reflection, Second Light ended up being one of those games that feels special from start to finish. Playing Outward Definitive Edition on PS5 reminded me why this game is so different from most open-world RPGs. Outward isn't about being powerful, it's about surviving the world itself. The cold, hunger, injuries, and long journeys make every step feel earned, and that survival focus gives the whole adventure a grounded, memorable vibe. Co-op is still my favorite part. Exploring Ori with a friend, preparing for trips, and facing dangers together makes the world feel alive in a way few games manage. With all the DLC included and some balance improvements, there's a lot of content to explore, and the sense of adventure is still strong. It's not a shiny modern RPG, but if you enjoy survival, planning, and slow, rewarding exploration, Outward Definitive Edition offers a unique experience that stands out.
We've got the hopes of the entire universe riding on our shoulders.
Star Ocean: The Second Story R fascinated me with its beautiful 2.5D look and smooth, modern combat. I chose my main hero, Claude, or Rena, and I liked how that decision shaped the story and the way characters reacted to me throughout the adventure. Combat felt fast and exciting. I controlled one character directly while my party chained skills, combos, and big assault actions that landed with impact. Breaking enemy shields for huge damage was always satisfying and kept me thinking during every fight. Outside of combat, I enjoyed crafting gear, cooking stat-boosting meals, and unlocking fun private actions that deepened my bonds with the crew. It's a polished, nostalgic, and surprisingly addictive RPG that mixes old and new perfectly.
However, one nation remained unaffected by the chaos.
The DioField Chronicle grabbed me with how well it blends real-time action and strategy. Every battle felt intense as I paused the game to plan flanks, set up big attacks, and unleash things like cavalry charges or massive meteor spells. The missions are short but full of tactical choices, so I was always thinking about positioning, timing, and how to handle tougher bosses or fort defenses. The controls can feel a little stiff at times, but the fast pacing and cinematic combat kept me hooked. It ended up being one of the more unique and engaging tactical RPGs I've played. Weird West gave me one of the most unique RPG experiences I've had in a while. I loved how the game lets you experiment with almost everything: shooting, sneaking, using the environment, setting traps, or just causing total chaos. Every area feels like a playground where you can try wild ideas and see what happens. What really hooked me was jumping between different characters, each with their own story and abilities. One moment I was a bounty hunter, then a pigman, then a werewolf, and all of their paths connect in cool ways across the same world. The choices you make really matter too. People you help can show up later to save you, and enemies you upset might come hunting for revenge. The world is strange, dark, and full of personality, mixing Western grit with supernatural monsters. Exploring the map, finding random events, and messing with physics-based interactions made the whole journey feel unpredictable and fun.
Set things on fire and more. If you see something that seems possible,
we march to vanquish Galerius and free all nations of Fevrith alike.
Unicorn Overlord drew me in with its huge, story-driven world and classic fantasy feel. Playing as Prince Elaine, I led a growing rebellion to reclaim my kingdom, meeting new allies and facing powerful enemies along the way. The hand-drawn art, vibrant environments, and beautiful music made every region I visited feel alive and memorable. The battles hooked me the most. The mix of real-time movement and turn-based strategy pushed me to think ahead, position my units carefully, and rely on teamwork instead of brute force. Managing my squad can get pretty detailed, but I enjoyed building the perfect team for each situation. With its depth, emotion, and stunning presentation, it became one of the most memorable strategy RPGs for me.
I could never pose a threat to Zenoira on my own.
I'll never deserve your trust again.
Chained Echoes reminded me of the classic 90s RPGs I grew up with, but with smart, modern ideas that kept everything fresh. Knowing it was made by just one developer made it even more impressive. The turn-based combat stood out immediately. The overdrive system pushed me to think strategically instead of relying on grinding, and every battle felt meaningful. Building a team of 12 heroes, each with their own skills and roles, kept combat exciting and let me experiment with different setups. The world is packed with emotional side quests, great characters, and beautiful music that really captures that old-school RPG atmosphere. For me, it wasn't just nostalgia, it showed that the magic of classic RPGs can still shine today. Eiyuden Chronicle 100 Heroes really grew on me. At first it moves slowly, but once the world opens up and you start recruiting heroes, it becomes something special. I loved watching my tiny group turn into a full army, with new characters joining from all over the world: fighters, mages, weirdos, and everything in between. The turn-based combat feels smooth, and building a 6-person team gives you tons of room to experiment. Finding new recruits and expanding the castle became one of my favorite parts, almost like slowly building a community. The big moments between countries, leaders, and rival armies kept the story exciting too. Once the game found its rhythm, the huge cast, the world building, and the sense of growing a real rebellion made the whole journey feel worth it. Visions of Mana won me over fast. It feels like the series finally stepped into the modern era, and the best part for me was the combat. It's fast, flashy, and full of cool systems to play with. Swapping classes through the elemental vessels is such a fun mechanic. Every class has its own weapons, abilities, and even a Sentai-style transformation scene that never stopped making me smile. I really enjoyed the characters too. Val and Hinna are instantly likable, and the party members you meet along the way all have their own moments to shine. The world is gorgeous as well, with colorful forests, snowy fields, and towns that look straight out of a storybook. Exploring every corner and finding secrets was always worth it. The combat, class system, and lovable cast made Visions of Mana one of the most enjoyable JRPGs I've played in years.
So many alms have given their souls to the Mana Tree. They're strong.
I didn't expect the Caligula Effect 2 to hit me the way it did. From the moment I stepped into Rito, the game felt more thoughtful, more emotional, and way more polished than the first. What stood out to me most was how much the story focuses on understanding people, their pain, their past, and why they make the choices they do. Getting to know the Go Home Club was genuinely rewarding, and several character moments stuck with me long after I stopped playing. The combat became one of my favorite parts. Being able to preview actions before committing makes every fight feel strategic, and planning out turns never got old. I also enjoyed exploring dungeons, doing character episodes, and watching relationships grow through the causality link. The soundtrack is excellent too, with vocal tracks that add so much style and emotion. For me, the Caligula Effect 2 is the sequel that finally lives up to the potential of the series.
Thank you for summoning me. I am Baba Yaga, and this is my apprentice.
When I played Labyrinth of Refrain, Coven of Dusk, I didn't expect to enjoy it this much. It's a first-person dungeon RPG where you explore big maze-like areas full of secrets, traps, and hidden walls you can break. The best part is building your team. You can create lots of puppet soldiers and mix them into different groups, which makes battles feel fun and strategic. The story also surprised me. It starts small, but later it becomes emotional, dark, and way more interesting than I expected. If you like exploring and making your own party, this game is a really cool and unique experience.
If you truly understand my language, then listen carefully.
Wasteland 3 takes me through a frozen, post-apocalyptic Colorado where survival is tough and every choice matters. Leading my 6-person ranger squad through turn-based battles was always satisfying. I relied on cover, smart positioning, and environmental tricks like explosive barrels or mounted guns to stay alive. Each squad member has their own perks and skills, so I could tackle missions however I wanted, whether through diplomacy, stealth, or straight-up firepower. The game's dark humor kept me constantly surprised, from killer clowns to ridiculous weapons like the ferret launcher. What I loved most was how my choices shaped everything: factions, allies, outcomes, and even the ending. With deep strategy and real consequences, this icy wasteland became one of my favorite RPG playgrounds.
Don't drag your feet, Rangers.
This is the story of the children who rejected their fate.
When I played Fuga Melodies of Steel, it affected me more than I thought it would. You play as a group of kids who escape their village during a war and end up driving a giant tank called the Tyrannus. Most of the game is about turn-based battles, where every move really matters. You pick the right pairs, switch weapons when needed, and try your best to keep everyone safe. But the thing that shocked me the most was the soul cannon. It can kill any boss in one shot, but only if you sacrifice one of the kids. That choice stays in your mind the whole time. Fuga may look simple, but the story, the strategy, and the emotions behind it make it an experience I won't forget.
Life.